What's up, everybody? Mark with Kardavox Academy here. Your favorite place to learn about harsh vocals. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. And there's a lot of music to keep up with these days getting released. There's new Knocked Loose, there's new Born of Osiris, because I don't know what year it is anymore. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I've been a metal vocalist for about 14 years. I'm in a band called Kardavox. We're on Metal Blade Records. We make music. Check it out if you want to. And I'm also a vocal coach. Specifically, I specialize, my expertise is in harsh vocals. So teaching people how to make all sorts of crazy sounds safely and efficiently so they don't hurt themselves, and they can pursue their vocal dreams. And I take the reaction format here. I pause a lot. I talk about what the vocalist is doing, how I would do it, you know, if I were to approach it. And it's a lot of fun. Before we get into this, I have an extremely exciting announcement. This Monday, March 4th, we're going to be live streaming a bunch of reactions. We're going to be on for about 4 hours. Times are in the description below. And we are going to be, streaming, or reacting to the new I can't say that name. The new Knocked Loose, the new, Born of Osiris, and there are a bunch of others, that I would like to react to, but I can't remember the names. We're also going to be taking some suggestions. There's no guarantee that your suggestion will be listened to, but you know, we'll try to get to a couple. I'm going to do a student spotlight as well. I've got a couple students who are doing an incredibly good job musically, and I want to show them some love and show all of you what you can do with the right amount of practice and drive. But yeah, come hang out with us Monday, March 4th, live stream for about 4 hours. It's going to be a good time. Slaughter to Prevail, Conflict. Here we go. Okay, let's pause there. Lots to talk about so far. So we heard the tongue roll, we heard the gator sound that Alex had in his last release that we talked about. So happy to hear that back. That's a cool little trick. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the baseline of what we're hearing here. So one thing that I talk a lot about here on the channel, but hopefully we've got a lot of new viewers. Yo, what's up? Is, you know, the various types of screams or growls or whatever you want to call them, and the ways that we can approach them. Now, a lot of times we talk about this dichotomy of false chord and fry vocal, and they're good places to start, but it's important to understand that not everything fits neatly into one of those boxes, right? Now here, having said all that, one of the best ways you can do to start doing vocals such as this is to fit them neatly into that little box of false chord, right? Now, false chord is a really cool technique. It's the one that I primarily do myself. It's my comfort zone as a vocalist. You know, it's the basis of all the stuff that I can just smash, you know, without having to worry about what sound's going to come out of my head. And part of the reason this sound is easy for a lot of people is that it's essentially based on a grunt, right? So if you're new to this whole thing, maybe you're just getting into metal and somebody showed you this band and you're like, how the heck does this work, right? Well, I'll keep it quick, but we have these little folds in our vocal, in our larynx, right, above our vocal cords. They're called the false folds, vestibular folds, ventricular folds, right? And they basically flop around. They're a different type of tissue than our actual vocal cords. And what they do primarily is they keep us from choking, right? They can close over the airway when we swallow. You know, like the epiglottis tilts back, and it's a lot of off-topic terminology. But the point is, these false folds can be activated by way of airflow, right? And this is why sometimes, even when I have a fry student, if they're just, there's no way for, like, they just are like dripping in tension, I'll teach them just the false chord grunt first, even though they're not really going to use it right away, because it helps them build a relationship in their mind of, oh, relaxation for grit, right? So generally, the way that this kind of goes, if you're trying to learn how to do a basic false chord growl, is you can start here, right? What do we sound like when we're trying to get stuff out of our throat? What does this sound like when we choke a little bit? Well, let's say your boy's up too late playing some video games, because that's my second passion. I haven't been able to boot up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it's killing me. But let's say I'm up late, I take a drink of water, and I do that. If you can do that, you can do false chord. And if you can't, you can learn how to do it, and that's how you can do false chord. And generally what the method is, right, the way that this is going to go is it's going to go and then you have some cool growls there. Now, one thing I really like about Alex's tone is he's all about big boomy sounds. No surprise, right? And he does this in a lot of different ways. Right now, we're hearing mostly a roaring mid-tone, right? We're hearing mostly a roaring mid-tone that's, controlled by a balance of pressure and what's the word I'm looking for? Pressure and mouth shape. And what I mean by this is one of the points of consideration you have to make when you're thinking about false chord vocals is that you're going to run out of air kind of quick, especially if you're new to it, right? But we can mitigate this by not pushing too hard, right? What's one way that you can keep more air from coming out of your face? Well, don't push as much. The second way is we can use things such as our mouth shape, right? Narrowing the lips or opening the lips and using the tongue to kind of bunch up in the back, right? So something's getting in the way of that air, letting us sort of hold on to it for longer. Oh, my laundry's ready. I'll go get it later. But this like all these things are ways that we can hold on to airflow. Let's keep going though, because I'm interested to hear where he goes. But right now, if you're really liking the sound of his voice, a very fundamental false chord, which we do have an e-course for on KardaVoxAcademy.com. It's been doing really well. A lot of people are really enjoying it. Check it out if you'd like. But a fundamental false chord is where you want to start if you're trying to learn this sound. Let's keep going. There's actually a lot to talk about that in that section, and I want to listen to it one more time. I don't be mad. Let's go back. We're gonna have to go back kind of far. But there are a lot of different tones and colors and textures, and I hear him leaning up into a higher space a little bit more than he does frequently. Also, I don't know anything about anything. Listen, I don't know anything about boxing. I don't know anything about boxing, bare knuckle. I don't know. Somebody's going to be like, technically, this is called that. I don't care. But like the scene where there are two dudes just punching each other in the ribs, I don't know. That's kind of funny to me. It's kind of like, well, like what? Shouldn't one of you move or block or evade? I don't know. I'm out of my element here, but it just looks kind of goofy. Anyways, let's keep going. Yeah, that sounds interesting to me. So there are a couple different things I'm hearing going on here. First and foremost, he's doing something that's very typical of his style, very typical of metal vocals, and it sounds cool, which is speaking into a scream. And you can do this with false chord, fry, retinoidal, epiglottal, I don't care, right? You can do it, and it's basically like kind of slowed down. It's this sort of sound right there like this into the scream. And there are a lot of different ways that you can go about it. There are two ways that I have found that are very, very easy to learn, and it's essentially going growl, stitch them together. It really is as simple as that. Another thing you do is you can use Kargria. Lean off the Kargria and stitch it together this way. He has a very smooth transition though, which is really, really cool. It sounds extremely controlled. There's one section where he was doing like almost like a forward twangy false chord, right? You usually hear, so twang is a technique that we can use to help our false chords sound higher. It's not, I don't know about essential, but almost essential in getting into a high false chord scream. Right, that sort of space. He was using it more in his mid, which was really, really interesting. And if you're not sure what twang sounds like, I'm going to give a very exact, I'm going to like crank the twang so you hear what I'm talking about. But if we've got like this, hello, my baby, hello, my darling, hello, my ragtime gal, la, na, 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 na. I don't know the rest of the song. But it's that sort of sound. One thing that a lot of my students like to do is, I don't know if they like to or if I force them, they use like a fake New York accent. And the reason I say fake is because at this point, having done this for, I think around 5 years, I've had hundreds of students from New York and nobody sounds like this, unfortunately. But this very sort of stereotypical, hey, I'm walking here, hey, I'm walking here, hey, I'm walking here. And if you use that A, that shape of vocal tracks, hey, I'm walking here, hey, yeah, I'm walking here, yeah, I'm walking here, as I stand upon my altar. Right, you can get cool sounds in like that mid space that are really enjoyable. Having not heard their Slaughter to Prevail's entire discography, maybe this is something he does more commonly that I just haven't encountered, but it sounds really cool here. One thing I can really appreciate about his technique is, one thing about Alex is his notoriety comes, like, obviously he's got a really cool, great, unique tone. We all know that. But a lot of his notoriety comes from his just brute force, right? His brute force. Like, think about like a fantasy novel. There are two heroes. One hero is known for their, finesse with hand crossbows and doing a backflip and, shooting, a perfectly crazy trick shot. That wouldn't be Alex. Alex would be the one who looks at that guy, laughs, and just kicks through the wall. Right, and he just he kicks through the wall, punches through the fucking the treasure chest, takes the treasure and leave. No acrobatics, right? And I actually really like that approach. And one thing I like is that he's adding nuance to it. So yes, it's straightforward, but it's not boring. Especially in this last section, we're not gonna listen to it again, but there were like lots of tones and colors and shapes that we could hear and pick out. Right now, how do we do that ourselves, especially with a false chord? One thing that sometimes students will tell me when they're, learning metal vocals or whatever is they'll say, I don't really care if I learn false chord or fry. And in fact, fry is really difficult for me or whatever, which we can solve that problem. That's fine. They'll say, but I don't want to learn false chord because it's so monotone. And I'm like, homie, what are you talking about? Right. One thing to think about is that false chord is like, we're generating sound with our vocal tract. You're probably sitting there like, duh, Mark, obviously. Well, hold on for a second, right? Because there are sounds moving through our vocal tract, those sounds are going to some degree play by the same rules as any other sound we move through our vocal tract, right? As long as it's like a phonatory, like a speech sound, a singing sound. Is a burp phonation? That was a long debate we had on our Kardavox server. It got damn near violent, but it was a lot of fun. Not really. I mean, not really violent. It was very fun. But here's an example, right? Let's take my singing voice, right? What if somebody said, I don't like singing because it's monotone? You'd be like, well, that just means you're not singing as well as you could, right? You don't want to be like, I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. That's not a fault of singing. That's just bad technique. That's just a bland technique, bad pitch, bad placement. If you want to, I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid, right? Okay, now it sounds better. Same thing with false chord, right? If you're sitting there and you're just like, I like to eat pizza and cut people's heads off, and it's really fun. La, la, la. Like, of course, I don't know, that could sound cool actually in the right band, in the right context, right? But if you want to make it more interesting, play with different tongue placements, right? Like, what if I do a tunnel? Right? What if I do, tongue kind of bunched up and back? Right? What if I pull my lips back, and add some twang? Hey, I like pizza. Right? Let's say I want to compress the airflow a little bit with my arytenoids, so it turns into more of like an I like pizza. right? There's tons you can do, and I think Alex is exhibiting that very, very well. Anyway, I'm talking a lot. You know what? This is my channel, and I ain't gonna apologize for it. If you didn't like it, you would have backed out by now. Anyways, let's keep going. That long-held roar is a really good example of what I'm talking about, right? Fundamentally, we have a false chord sound, but that's a lot longer than most people would generally, new people. If you're out there and you've been doing false chord for 10 years and you're like, well, I can hold it longer than that, I ain't talking about you. Put your ego away. What I'm talking about is people who are new or who are returning who have issues holding the false chord, like a false chord mid that long. And that's a pretty good length of time, right? We can hear that there's some sort of echoey sound in that. Like if we peel apart the sound, the roar that we're hearing, if we peel that apart, right, we can hear that there's some sort of echo. Now it doesn't sound like a full-on tunnel. And I did this in an analysis I did a long time ago. I think it's his live one take of, was it Viking? I don't remember. It's on the channel. His tongue, normally when we have like a tunnel, which is one of the ways that we can get really big boomy sounds with mids and lows, well, and highs, is here. But a lot of times his tongue is still flat on his teeth, like this. So it almost sounds like he's using the sides to play. This is guesswork now. Now I'm guessing, right? You hear how I still have that sort of like cotton ball, like you just got your wisdom teeth out sort of sound. I still have that. And if I kind of bunch up my tongue, now this is just guesswork, so I don't know what sound we're gonna get. But there it is. Yeah, that's kind of a cool way to get that boomy sound. I got myself off track. Point is, there are different things that we can do, and Alex has this like he's really spent a lot of time keying in on his very specific boomy tone. If you've been following him for a long time, you remember all of the videos when he was much less tatted and much younger. He had tons of videos just pacing around his house practicing his vocals. Anyway, let's keep going. Sounds sick. I fucking full of hatred right now, and you shut the fuck up and go walk, boy. That guy looked a lot like Tank, and I can clearly hear that I paused it at a terrible time, but I'm not doing this video again. But there's a guy with a beanie behind the gate that looks a lot like Tank the Tech. Yeah, that's not him, but at a glance, that looks like Tank. All right, here we go. That's only you and me and fat fucking conflict. So let's talk about those lows at the end, because I'm sure that's now having finished the song, that's probably the part that people are wanting to hear the most about. So a couple things that are interesting there. There I heard 2, maybe 3 vocal layers. Now, I'm going to give the same caveat I give whenever I talk about this stuff. Sometimes, especially with less experienced, newer vocalists, they'll hear me say that one of their favorite vocalists, such as Alex or anybody else, has multiple vocal layers or is using an EQ or has a little bit of reverb, and they'll get mad because they think that I'm saying they're cheating. That's like saying a baker is cheating because, they put icing on their cake. It's not like you sound silly. So when I say these things, if you want to get out your keyboard sword and come to Alex's defense, you're just making yourself sound a little bit goofy, right? So anyway, we hear 2, maybe 3 layers. Now this is just from me being the person at the mic. I'm never the person at the mixing board. I'm not the audio producer. This is just from, my many years of experience watching my voice get worked on in post. So, if there are any vocal producers or engineers out there, feel free to throw your 2 cents in as well. But I'm hearing at least 2 vocal layers here, and it sounds like there's a deep, more clean layer underneath that's got the EQ really boosting those low end frequencies, right? When we talk about our voice, it's important to understand we have a lot of different sounds going on. Like even when I go like this, if you were to put that, or if you were to view that through something called a spectrogram, you would see that's not one frequency, right? It's a stack of thousands upon thousands of frequencies, all of which are present in the voice. And when we use an EQ, which almost everybody's put, like an EQ is something that you kind of have to use for your voice to sit nicely in the mix most of the time, especially in really busy sound spaces, really busy sonic spaces, such as metal music, right? Sometimes in metal music, there's not a lot of real estate for sounds to sit. So you got to really finagle things, right? And so when we use EQ, we can be boosting some of those frequencies. So we may do something to kind of make these frequencies pop a little bit more, or these, I should be going side to side, not up and down. I was thinking about the spectrogram, but boosting the mids, boosting the lows, you may have heard terms like high pass filter, low pass filter, things like this. That's what that's about, right? So it sounds like there was a cleaner layer underneath the bottom, right? With those low frequencies being boosted, right? Now, one thing to think about as well is, I remember when I think it was Demolisher came out, there was like all that like hullabaloo about Alex's voice, but you can actually find some pretty low frequencies yourself at home just by relaxing your vocal tract. And this is a really important way to learn gutturals, right? And Alex is really, really, really good at this, right? So what you can do is, first and foremost, lips together, drop your jaw like you got a mouthful of like delicious food or a mouth of water, and your tongue is relaxed. Your tongue is just sitting on the bottom of your mouth. If you feel a lot of buzz here, you're already moving the right direction, right? Now what you're going to do is you're just going to settle into a pitch that's comfortable. It's not about getting to the lowest place. You're going to have better lows if rather than trying to reach into the depths of your capabilities, you're finding the lowest place where you can rest, and then like you can just rest your voice, and then from there you're boosting what's already in that space, right? So I'm here, that's where I can go without having to do anything weird with my larynx. I'm just chilling. Now, if I was singing, I would open up and I would think about getting a better singing tone. Right? But I'm doing metal vocals, so I'm going to do some stuff that's weird, right? Let's go for that tunnel thing, just because that's what's on my mind. Now, if I want to make that sound lower, the trick at this point is don't go lower, go boomier, right? Lean into that form and lean in to those like big echoey sounds. Think about singing into the back of your lips. If I put my fingers on my larynx, which you can't see because I got a beard in the way, only at the very end does my larynx drop, and only very slightly. Now, you may be at a higher pitch or a lower pitch. So if you're sitting there trying to match my pitch and you're like, this is really hard, or like, I can go way lower, like do this for your own voice. Now, what if I put some false chord through there? You got a beard, join me. You're getting some low tones. And so if I take those frequencies, which I generated, and I go into an EQ and I just boost those low frequencies, it's going to sound crazy. Now, Alex has spent a lot of time getting a lot of that naturally in his voice, and it's a good amount of talent that it takes. But that's one thing you can do. And a great thing about it as well is you can add like different layerings of voice, right? So you can go totally pitchless. My vocal cords aren't touching. Maybe I want a little pitch in there, right? Sometimes putting in a little pitch actually can help your sound be like rounder and thicker as well. So I'll go, right? All sorts of different options. I got off track. But anyway, there's a lot of crazy cool stuff going on with Alex's voice in this track. I think my favorite thing about this track is how he managed to keep like his range kind of steady, right? He didn't reach to the highest heights, he didn't reach to the lowest depths, but everything he did in the space where he was had a lot of color, had a lot of nuance, had a lot of character. But I would definitely say very good song. I like what he did. I don't know if it's going to top my favorite Slaughter tracks, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It's very much like it does give off some "back off, I'll take you on" vibes, which, you know, whatever. But vocally and instrumentally, very, very cool. Mix was a little strange. I felt like, again, you know, this is just me as a listener, not like when it comes to my expertise, it's harsh vocals. Now I'm speaking only as a listener of music. But I don't know, the guitars, they were sitting in a weird space for me. Something about the mix just sounded a little off, and I'm not sure what it was. But anyways, if you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Means a lot to watch the channel grow. Also, if you're interested in false chord vocals and you like the vibe that I teach and explain things, go to KardavoxAcademy.com for info on one-on-one lessons, as well as access to our e-course, False Chord Fundamentals. It's been helping a lot of people. It's been doing very well, a little better than I expected. And it may be able to help you too. So check it out. And then finally, come hang out in our live stream this Monday on the 4th. We will be taking requests, checking out Knocked Loose, checking out Born of Osiris. I'll probably be chopping up some boxes. I'm going to ask you to bring your stinkiest, dirtiest, nastiest breakdown to see if it causes me to draw the sword, and we'll go from that. But that's all I have. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out. Real quick